Bunzel and from Society Insurance, and Kim Hiddle at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, talking about not so much about ladder burning, but about what do we expect of employees coming into the workforce and what graduates need. What was your takeaway from that discussion?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we had a fantastic chat, and I found myself last night, scrolling through Facebook, and it popped up, and before you know it, I'm a half hour in. Like, hey, I was in this, and I'm still like enthralled and engaged in what we talked about. There are so many good things to re-listen to. But when I come back to really the discussion around, like you said, employees in the workforce, whether just starting out, but also, I mean, maybe you've been in the workforce for 5,
Yeah.
10, 20, 30 plus years. It's still very relevant as far as preparing employees, setting employees up for success. So what really stood out for me, and there's so much, so it's hard to narrow, is this idea of really owning your career path and not being afraid to ask the questions, have those conversations, whether it be with peers or managers. And, obviously that's from the employee standpoint, but from the employer standpoint, like just the very intentional creating of space that allows for failure and allows for, I mean, Kim said it wonderfully in the conversation, allowing people to be who they are, where they are. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
so hard to
powerful.
summarize, but what about you?
Well, the idea that we can distill, some very important moments into this learning lab setting, and to hear them describe it, I thought that when Bill was talking about what he has learned and how he's, changed his behavior over time in order to do that. I think it also, to me, it reinforces the job of a leader and of a coach. That, as you say, there has to be this place where people can take ownership and try things and see how it works, and if it doesn't work, you just try again. I just think that's so important to the work that I I think that you and I believe in, and we want other people to do.
Yeah. Kim spoke to it wonderfully too with calling out the idea of self-assessment or self-reflection or just that awareness of how we are, who we are in the workplace. Like what does success mean for us and how does that apply to all of the people around us that we engage with on a regular basis, or maybe not. Maybe it's that manager that you don't really talk to consistently, but just having that ongoing knowing of oneself and then discussion about it with others.
And to add to that, what when Bill's talking about, working with others and seeing that as his job, and we asked the very specific question, so how do people learn to think critically? Bill's response, and it buttressed by what Kim had to say, and I think it's so important, and it's not something that I've been thinking of quite this way. It's back to, can you create the conditions for people to think critically, as opposed to the gathering of facts, coming up with options, substantiating what those options are. All that's important, but it more from an organizational point of view and a structure point of view and a culture point of view. It's, you can create that environment. You're not giving the answer, you're helping people explore that. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean that Kim mentioned it and you mentioned it at the start. It is that idea of the learning lab. And there's really no, I mean, there's no absolute right way to do it. There is a wrong way to do it, but it's really just this, you've got the
Yeah.
space, you paying attention, just
Go for it.
thinking about your thinking, noticing your behaviors, noticing what others do, what does, what is, how do people treat people in meetings, or how are decisions made? Like, who are the
Right.
influencers? What do you need to know? What don't you know? Having those conversations to explore that. So
Right.
this learning lab concept is something that we've been playing with. There's posts out on social media and blogs up on the website, but I have a feeling with these latest conversations that we've been having that more is to come there. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go out and get lab coats for us.
Perfect. Actually, this has nothing to do with lab coats, but it is one hell of an experiment. Yesterday, when we were chit-chatting, we were talking about skydiving, and you said you were interested. It's been on my bucket list too, so I think there's is skydiving a learning like that's one hell of a risk and like failure.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to fail there, but
Yeah. No, I don't either. No, and I saw Megan this morning, and she said it was incredible, and it was spontaneous. There wasn't a ton of thought behind getting ready to do it. And I said, "What's the preparation?" She said, "Oh, I don't know, 10 minutes." So you don't
okay.
have to. It didn't sound like she had to rewrite her will or anything to
So
do
that's
it.
maybe the one area where you don't want to think about your thinking. But, we might have to have a ladder
Right.
burning skydiving excursion here. That could be interesting.
Skydiving, yeah. What we call it.
All right, Alan. Well, this has been fantastic. So much more we could continue talking about, but we've got things to do, ladders to burn, bridges to build, and more to be discussed in the future, upcoming sessions. But otherwise, people can head to social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Go to ladderburners.com for more information. But check out that replay; it's great.
Right. We'll talk again soon.